Paul, now that you've taken in the spring game, and not just the spring game, if you take the spring game, combine it with everything that came out over the last 3 to 4 weeks, all the reports, everything you could possibly gather, any bits of video, and obviously that's not nearly as much as any of us would like to be able to see and hear, and most of it has to be filtered through the coaches and players, so you don't. It's difficult to get the real scoop, pardon the pun. But what would be your thought about any one particular player, unit on the team, storyline, theme that you feel differently about today than you did a month ago based on what happened at spring practice?
Well, I think, our secondary I'm a lot more confident in than I've been in quite a while. I was, fairly satisfied. I just didn't know how big of a change or, how well they would play. I also didn't know about our backup quarterback situation as well. I mean, people, they see Tyler Van Dyke throw one pass, a quick down and out, and they're saying, oh, he's the next Joe Montana. We have the next Vincent Testaverde. Like, relax. I'm more confident in the future of the quarterback position. Seeing guys like Jake Garcia, Tyler Van Dyke, they're more prepared in advance than I've seen in quite a while. Seeing a preferred walk-on like Dante Anderson come in about your wide receiver rotation, like he played amazing, 5 receptions, 56 yards. He looks like a ACC conference wide receiver that can play in most wide receiver rotations at different programs, probably at the mid-tier level. So wide receiver rotation, I left very confident in. I didn't know Charleston Rambo how big of a splash he would make. Left very confident with that. Secondary as well. I haven't been as confident in our cornerback room in a while. And credit to Travaris Robinson, sorry, taking over that unit and building depth, which has been a huge concern at Miami at the cornerback position. Bringing in guys like Tyreek Stevenson, developing Isaiah Dunson, who blew up from this strength and conditioning program, to Corey Couch, Outblades Jr. All these guys are going to be fighting for a lot of playing time. Okay, I think that's been answered. And our secondary, specifically safeties, man, we are stacked. So that's very refreshing to see. And I think ultimately this team should, if the over or under, whatever you want to call it, was 9 wins, I'm taking the over on this football team. You're only 2 games that you got to look out for, in my opinion. Circling that Michigan State team as well, but Alabama, North Carolina. Michigan State is at home, so I'll take that. But Alabama, North Carolina, Miami should go 10 wins at least, and then you're going to split one of those. This is a 10-11 win Miami Hurricanes football team. I'm confident in that, but we need to be disciplined. If this is a disciplined football team and it cuts the amount of yards and penalties or penalties overall that we've had this past season, we will finish in the top 15, top 10 range, and we will play for a New Year's Six Bowl. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, when I look at the schedule, I see the same thing. I see one almost certain loss, and then I see a couple threats there. But 10-2 should be the outcome, if not 11-1, but 10-2. But then again, for as many people as have stated that I am a hater when it comes to Miami football, I've overestimated their win total by 2 or 3 games the last 2 years. So I don't know how I'm a hater, but that 6-6 2 years ago, I said 8-4, and people were coming after me saying, this is a 10-2, 11-1 football team, and I said 8-4, and they went 6-6. And last year I had them in 9-3 before, of course, the season was shortened.
And Mark, this all comes down to being healthy. If Miami has a big injury plague, I mean, hey, that 10-win mark where you think, hey, we can get over 9 wins, hey, that can go down. So we need to be healthy, and you can't control injuries. Either they're going to happen or not. So I think De'Ara King coming back, it's going to be great. Worst case scenario, you put in, one of our underclassmen quarterbacks who's shown they can play at the Power 5 level. I think this should be a team that if they don't win the ACC Coastal, I'm sorry, it's a disappointing season because they should get 10 wins easily. And by the way, I mean, I saw the comment, Miami's not an 11-win team. Hey, you could be 110% right. Knowing Miami football, we tend to win consecutively and lose consecutively. And it's shown in the past, when you lose the locker room at Miami, it really goes south. But on paper, talent-wise, Miami should win at least 10 games on paper. You're playing in the ACC Coastal. It's not the strongest division. You do have a tough opponent in Michigan State. You should take care of business at home playing Michigan State and beating App State. Sorry, we play App State after Alabama. But, your two toughest opponents are going to be Alabama and North Carolina. The rest, NC State is a pretty solid football team. You got to come ready to play. 10-2 or 8-4 worst case scenario. That's the way I see it. I don't think this is going to be a 7-5 football team or worse.
I see it exactly the same way. I don't think there's any question about it when you look at the talent that there's one team on the schedule that plays at the same level, and they didn't when they met this past season, and that's North Carolina. There's one team that's significantly better, not just than Miami, but everybody else. That's Alabama. And then there's the North Carolina game. Now, all those other teams, a lot of those other teams, I shouldn't say all of them, most of those other teams are capable of beating Miami on a given Saturday, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't beat them, but they're capable. Yeah, Pitt's a capable team. North Carolina State, Michigan State, App State's one of the better group of 5 teams you're going to run into. But still, they were the Sun Belt champion and best team 5 years ago, and Miami didn't have a great team. They had a good team, a decent team, and Miami clocked them by 5 touchdowns when they went to Appalachian State. So
Yep.
they may not be able to do it to that level, but they should beat App State fairly comfortably because they just play on different levels. But can they look past App State? No.
App State's going to be a very interesting game, Mark, because I'm pretty confident it's the week after Alabama. But what's the response Miami's going to have? Whether they lose to Alabama in a close game by a huge margin or they beat Alabama and shock the world, what is that response going to be as a football program when you have your home opener against a pretty solid opponent that won their respected conference? What's the response going to be? And yes, I know they're taking Duke's transfer quarterback in. He's going to be at App State for his final year of college football, I believe. I think it's been something. But, what's that response going to be? And I think that's going to be huge. And I think that's going to be a statement on the locker room and the coaching staff as well. Whether they beat Alabama or they lose to Alabama, what is the response going to be against App State and that non-conference schedule?
I'll say one statement about Michigan State in that game before we bring in the wholesome one, and that's that Miami's decidedly better than Michigan State. Not like tons of levels above Michigan State, but they're decided. There's no question. It's not an argument. They are a more talented roster than Michigan State. But Michigan State, because of the football they play a physical brand. They'll have a tough team, a tough defense, and they play in a conference where they're not going to be like phased by coming down to Miami and playing. If they lose that game 31-10, it's because they just were against a faster, more talented team, but it wasn't because they were like wowed because they were playing Miami. It's not going to be a big deal to them to play Miami.
I can see that Michigan State game kind of being one where Miami wins by 10 points. And if Miami wins by 21 against Michigan State, I think that would be kind of a statement saying the program is changing and this is a good football team.